Hello and welcome to the BVB update for October 7th. I'm Stefan Butzko. In this format I cover Borussia Dortmund news and other shenanigans. And yes, first of all, apologies that there's actually not going to be a Yellow Wall pod this week because neither Matthias, Lars, nor I actually really had time to record anything. And yeah, so this is what I have and this has to do now. Apologies, but yeah, let's get cracking. And of course, we will start with the personnel update. And yeah, Edin Terzic at today's news conference had a lot of good news, but did not start with them because he said, quote, Marco Reus will be out for the game against Bayern Munich tomorrow on the top of his ankle injury. He also got a cold this week, so that set him back a little in his recovery. He hasn't trained with the team for 3 weeks, so we are hoping that it's looking better next week. Apparently, Marco Reus is scheduled to re-enter training throughout the week, but there were also better news because Terzic did say, quote, Gregor Kobel was with us in Seville. He participated in parts of the training on Tuesday. Yesterday, he nearly completed the full training. It all looked very good, but he's been out for 4 weeks, so we will wait for the final team training to make a decision whether he plays or not. Gregor is our number one and will stay our number one in goal, but playing him only makes sense if he's at 100%. You all saw Alex Meyer's performance against Sevilla, so we're confident that we have a great keeper between the sticks tomorrow, one way or another. And yeah, he also talked about Giovanni Reina, Mats Hummels and Marius Wolf because they were all back on the training pitch yesterday. And he said they will participate all in today's team training, and if nothing dramatic happens, they will all be available tomorrow. Mats and Marius have recovered from their colds, and with Gio, we have to wait. If he is ready, he obviously isn't a candidate for the starting lineup, but it would be nice to have the option to sub him on past the 60-minute mark. So Gio Reyna, who obviously picked up an injury while being with the United States men's national team, at least is touch and go, which I think at this point is good news. And yeah, when it comes to Bayern Munich, obviously Joshua Kimmich and Thomas Müller had COVID, which I think they tested positive last weekend, and both tested negative according to Nagelsmann. Kimmich did travel with Bayern to Dortmund, but Thomas Müller did not because he still has flu-like symptoms. And otherwise, Terzic also had a few quotes on Jude Bellingham, which I found very interesting. So here it goes. He said, quote, he's possibly the best Jude Bellingham yet. He's playing a consistent season. There are a few issues that we're addressing during the preseason. He's added more balance, more control to his game. That's not just because of the adjustments that he made, but also because of the players around him. We're aware that Jude is able to show great performances in other positions as well. He's showing that whether he's coming over the wings or from the 10 position. What's important is that he keeps his emotion in check, and we continue to work on that. I'm not talking about him being angry at the referee, but that he doesn't suddenly start to play his own game, that he doesn't start running at the goalkeeper all by himself, but that he keeps within the shape of our system in order to maintain the necessary balance. And in that regard, he's taking a lot of steps forward, and we're trying to improve that even more. The fact that he's already scored 3 goals in the Champions League confirms his great form, but there's so much more still to improve. We're trying to unlock his full potential. And yeah, Terzic also quoted some XG stats. Well, not really, he didn't say any numbers, but about Dortmund's lack of goals this season. He said that you all confront me with stats all the time, but here's one for you. Bayern are topping the league in XG, and we are second in that category. However, we are worlds apart when it comes to actual goals scored. We have to work on our efficiency. We're asking ourselves all the time, what passes, what crosses, which target zones are maybe more effective? How do we get more players into threatening positions, etc.? We have scored 8 goals in 3 Champions League games, which is almost the same amount as in 8 Bundesliga games. And yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because as you can see here, that's the fbref.com website, and yeah, I've already put the XG out there, so it sorts itself. And as you can see, Bayern indeed with 20.2 XG and 23 goals scored are leading the league in that category. However, at least in this statistic here, obviously XGs are counted differently because there are so many different models. But in this one, Dortmund are actually only 4th in the league and at 13.3 XG, they have managed to score 11 goals. So the underperformance isn't actually that grave. I think Dortmund overall just need to create more chances in general. And the XGA, the expected goals against, are also not much better. Dortmund are at least the fourth best team in that category, which isn't all too shabby, but they have sadly underperformed, if you will, because they have conceded 10 goals. And arguably should have conceded 9, but I don't think that makes too much of a difference, unless obviously you think about the Cologne game, because otherwise they would have lost it. But And one other thing that I want to mention is that Nico Vardoy, who is the president of the BVB Norway 1909 fan club, always has these very nice overviews on Reddit. For example, the game between Dortmund and Bayern is usually broadcast in more countries than any other match in the Bundesliga. And he has basically listed pretty much every channel in every country where it is. And he has also this really cool world map where you can see supporters clubs, pubs, and other locations linked to Borussia Dortmund around the world. It's obviously not comprehensive, but if you just see at the United States, you see a lot of stuff. So here you then see the USA Midwest fan club, or BVB Pittsburgh, or the Carolinas, etc. So yeah, pretty cool. And obviously it's worldwide. I'm not sure if it's complete or not, but nevertheless, it's pretty cool. But that I think deserves a shout out. And now obviously it is time for me to show my predicted lineup. And as you can see here now, not many surprises there. I think it's very similar to what Dortmund did against Sevilla. Guerrero and Meunier still the fullbacks. I don't think that Marius Wolf is entirely fit enough yet to play right back instead of Meunier. Obviously, there can always be a surprise injury, so I wouldn't be surprised if he starts instead of Guerrero, for example. And I just assume now that Gregor Kobel is fit and ready to go. And since Nico Schlotterbeck sadly is still very error prone, I am putting him out of the lineup and pairing Hummels and Süle next to each other. Basically a former Bayern centre-back pairing, but more importantly, I think, is going to be the battle in midfield, and Ashan, Can, and Bellingham need to keep the structure in front of defense. And I think the game against Sevilla was not very encouraging in terms of defensive prowess, and usually when Dortmund play in a 4-3-3 with that setup, they do a pretty good job. I mean, just look at the game against Manchester City, but here against Sevilla, unfortunately, I think the expected goals against was over 2. That is not good, and if they have a similar defensive performance, they're simply going to get pumped by Bayern. But nevertheless, this is, I think, a good, strong midfield. And up front, Malen, Adeyemi, and Moukoko is probably the fastest option, but I think you want Malen off the bench, and thus I would say that Brandt starts another game. Also, Brandt had a very good scoring output recently, so in that regard, I am pretty confident in him. And Moukoko really did show why he must play against Bayern and pretty much any other game. Just look at him, how he presses the opponent, at what speed he presses opponents. Just for that fact, I think he is very effective. Obviously, you can talk about Modest's set piece defending and whatnot, but Moukoko has so much upside, and he has always a world-class moment within him. We saw it against Sevilla, so I don't think that's a big surprise. And Adeyemi, I think, is going to be a key player. If Dortmund want to win anything against Bayern, he needs to run at and in behind Alphonso Davies and exploit that space. And if Bayern have one massive weakness, I would say it is Upamecano and Alphonso Davies. Defensively, if you really run at them, they are not the best, and thus I think this is a competent lineup. Am I confident that Dortmund are going to win this game? Considering that they have lost their last 8 consecutive games against Bayern Munich, I'll be honest, I don't think so. But this is actually the first time since the last 3-2 win where Paco Alcácer scored that really great goal, I think assist by Witzel, and then pump fake Neuer, and then had a great chip That was one of the best goals in a very long time, I would say. Yeah, actually, since then, this is the first game where the Westfalenstadion is going to be sold out fully. So maybe this is what will make the difference. I hope that Dortmund, as always, make it a close affair, that referees do not interfere, and if they interfere, they interfere pro Dortmund for a change. I wouldn't mind that at all, I'll be honest. And yeah, I think Dortmund need to be fresh and ready, and I think this is going to be a problem for them because Bayern had a Tuesday game, they had an early kickoff, and they had a home match, so obviously they had to travel to Dortmund, but otherwise they had one more day of recuperation, and they played against Viktoria Pilsen, which for them was more of a walk in the park than what Dortmund had to do in Sevilla, even though at least Dortmund did win 4-1 and could afford some rests toward the end of that game. But nevertheless, Dortmund, I think, are already visibly struggling with fatigue. And yeah, going into this game, it's not going to help. So if there's one positive, I think, from Dortmund's perspective, I do not think that there's a chance that Dortmund will underestimate Bayern and be arrogant or sluggish at any phase of this game. I think they will throw everything in there that they have and then see where the chips fall. But yeah, right now I think Bayern are in a very good form, and this is probably not the best moment to play them. But nevertheless, the good news for Dortmund is that they have a few players coming back from injury, even though it's not ideal to only have them just return and not have them in rhythm. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So, yeah, enjoy the game tomorrow. And if Dortmund win, I'll be back with a BVB update. And then if not, see you on Monday with then a very big Yellow Wall pod, either on Monday or on Tuesday. Until then, as always, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what your scoreline prediction is and how you would feel the lineup. And I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.